Hey guys, All in Crypto here, and welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, for another YouTube video. Hopefully, you're all having an amazing day wherever you are and whatever you're doing. Happy Friday to each and every one of you. This is going to be another daily cryptocurrency market update, and it's going to be, as always, a ram-jammed one. We're going to start things off by looking at the charts. We're going to be looking at your OG cryptos that seem to be doing very well, likely to do with regulatory pressures on other altcoins that have been listed as or certainly hinted at being securities by the SEC. So we see Litecoin up 17% today. We were in the Litecoin trade. We got shaken out of it, unfortunately, because of the SEC. Didn't foresee it. But we still, I think, principally and ideally, we were very right on that trade. Certainly that's being shown now. Of course, we weren't right on it because we got stopped out. We'll look at Bitcoin Cash, which was up 22% today. Again, this has likely got a lot to do with regulatory uncertainty. And actually in the Bitcoin Cash chart, there's some real alpha there in regards to what I'm going to show you in regards to a divergence. The same reason that we got into Bitcoin really before anybody else was calling a fundamental shift in the market back at 15K. You actually have that for Bitcoin Cash in regards to a divergence. And actually there's alpha there in regards to relating it to your other altcoins when you look at the charts. So we'll be looking at the charts, of course, as always. Then we're going to talk about economic news. We had a revised first quarter growth for the US that shows it higher than expected, 2%, which was higher than the 1.3 that it was revised from. You also have more deflation in Europe with the flash CPI today. You've got news coming out of the UK, and then we'll talk about CME adding a Ethereum Bitcoin futures, which could maybe be a bit of a hint in regards to alt season about to be upon us. Alt season will happen, ladies and gentlemen. We're more bullish on altcoins in terms of a price point of view than we are Bitcoin. That is an early trade still, but I think it will be one that becomes very right. So before I go on and start getting into all that, if you guys can do me a massive favor, leave me a like and a comment. And of course, if you're not a subscriber already, subscribe to the #1 crypto channel out there from a market perspective and actually also an insight perspective in regards to the cryptocurrency market. We have been killing it, ladies and gentlemen, and you will see lots of testimonies of that. So let's get into it all, guys. Let's start things off, as always, with a nice, beautiful, clean Bitcoin chart. Well, it's not that clean, but ultimately, this is the projections that we have. One reason that we actually speculated on getting in after FTX, having avoided Celsius, Luna, we even shorted Luna. Celsius we didn't short, we weren't really keeping up with that whole thing. We even were looking at shorting the FTT token. That wasn't a call of mine, and Solana, that was a call of Francis Hunt's. But we actually made a decision to get back into the market based on a bullish divergence occurring at a late stage of a trend with marginally lower lows, pointing to a potential shift from a bear market to a bull market, which I believe you're now in for the cryptocurrency market generally. Some altcoins are lagging and still yet to catch up, and you can't say they're in a bull now because ultimately they've gone on, some of them, and put in marginally lower lows, but the divergence is now showing up in regards to what happened with the SEC, which if we look at Bitcoin Cash, then maybe there is a bit of alpha there. Spoken in detail about this with my Patrons. Anybody that wants to join the Patreon going into a new month, it's a great idea to do so. I think it's a very good price for the kind of package that you get, and there's lots more things coming, like courses and all sorts. But enough of the selfless and shameless shilling of my own group. We ultimately took a punt here, and we said, okay, late stage in a trend, divergence showing that the momentum's waning. You haven't got quite got the same momentum behind the sell force, even though it was a big player. And actually, it's never a bad time to enter after some sort of a catastrophe. Certainly at the late stage of a trend. Stan Weinstein wrote a great book on how to make money in bear and bull markets, where he looks at 4 stages of a market. I may do an entire video on that, actually, because I think it's very useful to where we're at right now. Again, courses and all sorts of things coming from All in Crypto. But ultimately, we assess that Bitcoin's in a bull market, and generally the cryptocurrency market is. Okay, you've got a concession of higher highs and higher lows now. Yes, we ran into resistance, we've rejected off of it, but now we're going and taking another stab at it. And once we take that 30K level, this is the point where the bears that have been wrecked for the past 7 months now have to flip bullish. From a technical perspective, okay, they could just stay bearish for the next 2 years and eventually be right, who knows? But this is a key point that we have assessed, just like we assessed 30K was going to be resistance, into 25K support, which is our neckline. Remember, head and shoulders target gives you the 41K Bitcoin. Bull flag gives you a 43K Bitcoin. And then a bull flag if you wanted to take it from sort of 15K or a little bit higher than that, 16K would give you potentially a 51. So we're not ruling 51 out. We're saying, look, we'll deal with the short-term targets and then we'll work our way up. you have a lot of really good moves coming from Litecoin. Litecoin is up 17% today. This is a trade that we were on. But of course, with this move here, we got stopped as a result of Gary Gensler and his enforcements on the SEC. Ultimately, we did have higher targets for this, so we're not actually in this trade. But the reason I'm bringing this up is because you have your kind of legacy cryptos, your Litecoins, your... Take a look at BCH, USD. Make sure I've got no draws on here. Your... actually, we do have a draw on here that we want. Your Bitcoin Cashes doing... Oh, come on, guys. Come on, All In Crypto. You should have sorted this out before you did the video. Your Bitcoin Cash is doing this. Very impressive. I mean, this is an impressive move. It's essentially tripled in a couple of weeks. These are weekly candles. And was there any precursor to this? And actually, is there any sort of alpha here to be taken in relation to altcoins? Well, yeah, there is. You've got your bullish divergence here on a lower low. So bullish divergences, I do not believe you can particularly trade in terms of a short-term time frame and getting your stop and everything and setting the trade up via that frame. But what they do is they do give you an indication of a weakening in a trend and a trend that may be vulnerable or subject to change. Actually, Mark Leibovitz wrote a great book on volume where he looks at indicators, and actually he really sort of pressed the RSI and the relevance of it to me. You know, this is a momentum-based indicator, just like you have your bearish divergences, you have your bullish ones, and if you get one at the end or a late stage of a trend, then typically you need to take that seriously, which is what we've done with Bitcoin, which is why we've managed to call Bitcoin literally 15K. We've got all the evidence for it. If anyone wants to join my Patreon and go back to the 5th of January and watch that video we did, you know, we were exceptionally early in regards to this trend. But your legacy crypto, so relate this to your altcoins if you want. I'm not going to do it for you. Also technical patterns on altcoins as well. I covered it in my last meeting on the Patreon. And we've also touched on it here a bit. But, you know, it's very interesting what's going on with these legacies. And it's likely to do with the regulatory uncertainty that's now been sort of the dark cloud that's now over altcoins that have been mentioned by the SEC. Very interestingly, in regards to regulations, you do have the UK that's actually just came out and published law sort of approving crypto as an asset class and trying to become a crypto hub. Very different from the US. I had an interview with Hugh Henry that part one, I think, is going to come out today. Part two is all about crypto, and we talk about many things, regulatory uncertainty, Binance, you know, he's not a big fan. I'm a fan of Binance, and I think on-chain is kind of an audit of itself, but very interesting. So do watch out for that. I think I'm going to release part one today. Part two will be coming at some point. It's up to him when he wants to release part two, but of course, part one we can release on the channel. But there is definitely alpha here in regards to looking at these divergences, where you are in regards to the trend, and then you get moves like this. These moves are coming for altcoins, ladies and gentlemen. Potentially there could be regulatory connotations on the back end of that. So really, there's a plan that we've set out for Bitcoin and crypto generally, and we're just sticking to it. And we think we've got the macro right with where rates are, although Jerome Powell threw a bit of a spanner in the works. We looked at that yesterday. Please go and watch yesterday's video. And we looked at how the markets were affected. 2-year yields are higher than I would like them to be. This, of course, is on the back of Jerome threatening to up rates. Big correlation we're here in the markets. This is something I need to watch. The dollar's doing okay. Actually, we put targets here for this. Let's see if it actually reached those targets. Yeah. Would you look at that? Spoke about this yesterday. Target. This was our target from a point of break here. Beautifully hit. Beautifully hit. The interesting thing was actually the other side of that trade was Bitcoin potentially going down, which it didn't do. It actually saw strength here. But you're running into some wicks here. Going to be interesting to see how this plays out. So ultimately, we said stick to the plan. Stock markets followed exactly what we've set out for it. Gold is pretty much setting exactly what we set out for it. This is more strength than I'd like to see, potentially, for this structure to play out. We'll see. July is going to be interesting because obviously you've got a lot of interest that closes on June the 1st, June the 30th going into July. So today, Friday, there's going to be a lot of option expiry, and we'll see what that liquidity does and how it affects the market. But altcoins are locked and loaded, guys. They really are. and we'll see what comes from it. But ultimately, just stick to the plan. Gold, we think, is doing well, so on and so forth. Let's move on to a little bit of news now. Bored everyone with the boring technicals, but remember that little bit of alpha in regards to assessing markets, looking at them in regards to a weekly time frame, the trend, where it's at, and looking for potentially a shift that's occurring. You know, when you go low, you sort of volatility dies out, and you put in divergences. You're at this kind of late stage. It's very interesting. First quarter economic growth was actually 2%, up from 1.3%. First report in major GDP revision. This is something we looked at as well in regards to the economics. It's doom and gloom. It's horrible. It's nasty in the headlines. Bears are, 2008's here. We're going to crash. They're throwing up this fractal from 1936 and all sorts of stuff. Well, actually, we've said not only do the charts not match that, not only does the context not match that, but the economic data actually doesn't match that. In certain places. In some areas, it really does. And also, you had today... we're seeing deflation across the board. You had Eurozone, flash CPIs. It was 6.1 last. It's now down to 5.5. You're going to probably get a lower CPI for the US going into July. You'll probably get a weakening job market. I'm not convinced that the Jerome Powell does another hike. And I think that if markets, which he doesn't want to let markets get the sniff, you know, markets are like a bloodhound. You know, they're on the trail. And if he gave markets the inkling, and markets don't believe Jerome Powell right now, but if he gave markets the inkling that they were done with hikes, we know the context of what happens under sideways hikes. No one else talks about that on crypto, YouTube, or Twitter. Not seen one person mention it, other than All in Crypto, which is why you should smash that subscribe button, share this video around. We've got a number of other interesting news on top of economic. Of course, the UK passes bill into law recognising Bitcoin and crypto as a regulated financial activity. The UK law, financial law, includes crypto hub provisions and Web3 rules. UK financial services and market bills to regulate crypto sector and supervise Web3 promotions gains final approval. This is big. It's just the US that's lagging behind. US. I think the dollar actually, a CBDC, is good for not necessarily crypto generally, but the US in regards to their dollar dominance. So the US will come around. It's very interesting. I mean, looking at the whole situation with Library, you know, could they just be going after the organizations like they did with Ripple, Brad, and Chris, and then they'll go, okay, well, that kind of they were using it like a security, but now it's not a security, just like what we saw with Library. Maybe that's an outcome and that sends these altcoins to the moon. CME Group to add Ether and Bitcoin ratio futures in July, pending regulatory approval. So that's showing us a demand to trade those pairs. Bitcoin dominance had a great run. An amazing run, in fact. One that we kind of thought maybe it would deviate here, but it didn't. This is where we're wrong on markets. We're wrong on markets all the time. I know I'm sat here going, I'm wonderful, I'm beautiful. You should all follow me because I'm a genius. But actually, we get more than our fair share of things wrong. And anybody that is claiming perfection when it comes to the markets has never traded the markets, because there's no perfection in being a trader, I'm afraid. There's also you're never going to get everything right, and you need to accept that, be humble to it. And the difference between a good and a bad trader is more so when they get things wrong, what they do about it. And we're always very honest and open with you guys. All you get on this channel is honesty. You know, I really do care about each and every one of you watching this channel. I think financial education is crucial in the kind of world that we live in. So this is slightly interesting, perhaps. We've kind of covered everything that we want to. Ultimately, stick to the plan, guys. We've been very right for the past we've been right for a lot longer than that. We're out of the market in 2022 for the majority of it anyway. We didn't perfectly time the top. I saw someone's comment yesterday saying, we didn't perfectly time 69k. You know, you got out at sort of the 50, 40k range. And I'm like, what do you want? You know, like, come on. Anyway, on that note, I'm going to love and leave you. Have a good Friday, guys. Behave yourselves tonight. And I'll see you all in the next video. I will be announcing on Saturday. I am actually going on holiday for a week. So these daily market updates from next week won't be... We've got videos coming out in the evening that will be sort of crypto specifics and podcasts and stuff like that. But we will be away and not doing the daily market updates. I don't think, unless I can find a good setup on vacation to do it in the morning, but we'll see. I'm going to love and leave you. Enjoy yourselves tonight, guys, and have a fantastic Friday. See you in the next one.